If you're like me, you're seasoned in investing. Investing in the cheapest jar of seasoning because all of your money's gone. So when other people lose a lot of money, it's always good to laugh at them in an attempt to drown out all the trips to Italy you could have taken. That's most of this video. However, for those of you who haven't lost your life savings, this also should help explain the entire GameStop fiasco from start to finish in a relatively simple manner. Let's begin. GameStop always had a great business model. The game was stopping you from ever receiving more than $5 for your brand new copy of GTA 5. They would then take the game you just turned in for $5 of store credit, slap a $35 price tag on it, and put it back on the shelf, causing another 14-year-old to come buy it. Then he would turn it in for the same $5 in store credit, and the perpetual cycle begins. This cycle began in 1984. However, our timeline begins on the day of GameStop's IPO in 2002, because as we all know, companies don't actually exist until you can gamble on their share price in Robinhood. After going public in 2002, GameStop's share price rose from $9.95 to almost $60 in 2007. After taking a dip during the recession, GameStop once again began to climb towards historic highs from 2011 to 2014. This time frame marks what I like to call the prehistoric era of GameStop. It's the foundational period that helps us understand where we are today. But who really gives a fuck? However, before we can continue talking about GameStop, we have to take it back 2 years from 2014 to 2012. That's because in 2012, he who shall not be named created Wallstreetbets, and thus created investing. A cesspool of greed, testosterone, and degeneracy, Wallstreetbets has its entire own timeline, but we'll get into that in another video. In November of 2013, GameStop's share price had nearly climbed to a new all-time high. The perpetual used game wheel had been running for years without any sign of stopping. Who was at the reins? Paul Reigns, with an army of somewhat sober employees under his command. However, there was something sinister going on behind the scenes that GameStop could have never prepared for. For the past few years, Xbox had its own Manhattan Project working behind the scenes, and like usual, Xbox One. A new generation of game consoles was born, one that no longer required discs, one that no longer required GameStop. However, deep in GameStop headquarters, a new plan was emerging. That plan was simple, but brilliant. Innovative, yet obvious. A plan to restore the public's confidence in GameStop once and for all. What was that plan? To change absolutely nothing. And thus, GameStop's slow decline to irrelevancy began. 2014 was the beginning of GameStop's deadly decline down to a low of just $2.57 per share. The Dark Ages. This period from 2014 to 2020 saw a shift in gaming that GameStop didn't predict, or defend against, or pivot around, or really do any number of 500 things that could have saved them fairly easily. And it's this general lack of faith in GameStop that led it to become one of the most shorted stocks of the present day. Surprisingly, if we look at GameStop's revenue over the last 10 years, we can see that it remains remarkably stable, hovering around just above $8 billion. An incredible feat, being that over the last 10 years they've sold only 5 new game copies. However, despite GameStop's consistent revenue numbers, the stock tanked down to just $2.57 per share. And if you're watching this, you know the only thing that matters is the share price. You don't care about GameStop. GameStop is just an investment vehicle that allows you to make money. It's numbers on a screen that allow you to make more numbers, or in my case, lose more numbers. So let's stop with the boring GameStop backstory and get to how some people made a lot of money and most people made a contribution to a hedge fund manager's Aspen vacation home. Let's go to September of 2019, when a degenerate on Wallstreetbets decided to do something retarded. What a surprise. DeepFuckingValue had a plan that was so incredibly autistic, it was actually brilliant. In September of 2019, DeepFuckingValue invested $53,000 into long-term GameStop call options expiring in January of 2021, with the assumption that GameStop was fundamentally undervalued. Here's a basic idea of why. Being an investor who does DD, instead of a gambler, like me, your goal is to look for something called asymmetric upside. Usually the stock market is efficient, meaning that if you want to receive a reward, you always have to take a proportionate amount of risk. The goal of the investor is to find opportunities where risk and reward are disproportionate. In your In your favor, of course. DeepFuckingValue thought he had found such an opportunity in GameStop. If you're actually serious about investing and want to learn how to find opportunities like this, I'd highly recommend watching his original rundown on the GameStop play. However, this is a very simplified version of it. Everybody thinks GameStop sucks. This makes the stock cheap. However, GameStop is still making plenty of profit every year. GameStop has big market share. GameStop is only brick-and-mortar video game store. GameStop just needs new narrative and rebranding. This will make GameStock go up and make calls print money. Moving forward to summer of 2019, Michael Burry, a guy with the same name as the investor character from The Big Short, announced that he held a 3% stake in GameStop. He also believed that because 90% of GameStop stores remained cash flow positive, GameStop's perpetual wheel of revenue must still be spinning, and thus, similar to DeepFuckingValue's thesis, GameStop's share price isn't an accurate reflection of its value. Wallstreetbets soon began to take notice of this GameStop play, as DeepFuckingValue began to post more updates on his position, now worth $50,000 more than what he bought it for. In the summer of 2020, as coronavirus ravaged the world, GameStop seemed to be on its last leg. Terrible earnings, controversial media attention, and over 1,000 stores planning to close in the next few years. However, DeepFuckingValue, the diamond-handed degenerate, continued to hold the line, even doubling down on his position and buying more calls. In June of 2020, GameStop announced a 519% jump in online sales after being forced to shut down physical locations. On August 31st, Chewy founder Ryan Cohen bought a 9% stake in GameStop, continuing the upward momentum in share price. Fast forward to September 19th, 2020. The day a degenerate on Wallstreetbets made a very special due diligence post, an analysis of a certain stock or option play. The premise of this analysis being that because the new generation of consoles wasn't moving to entirely digital, there was a chance GameStop's share price could be resurrected. And because GameStop was so heavily shorted, the upward price momentum would eventually trigger the magical short squeeze. Being that most similar posts are usually drunken rants intended to self-affirm one's position after 50% unrealized losses, a good amount of degenerates passed it by. However, over the next few months, GameStop began to circle through the forums of Wallstreetbets. The short squeeze thesis was simple and brilliant. If stock goes up, evil institution man who thinks stock goes down needs buy more stock, making stock go up more, making institution man buy stock. What was required to make this short squeeze work? A catalyst, one that would rapidly increase GameStop's share price, thus triggering the first chain of short sellers to buy back into their positions. On January 12, 2021, Ryan Cohen joined GameStop's board of directors, thinking that his knowledge of dog toys could help GameStop continue to do nothing about their decreasing relevance. This for some reason made GameStop go to almost $20 per share by market close on January 12th. The hype around GameStop starts building. The next day, GameStop is up to $31.40 per share. By the 14th, $39.91. As tensions rise, short sellers begin doubling down on their positions, and the degenerate army begins to assemble. A few days later, Citron Research, one of the major GameStop short sellers, comes out claiming the degenerates are suckers buying into GME at this price. Unfortunately for them, we know GameStop buyers are used to buying things priced higher than they should be, leading to the rally that would ensue over the next week. On Friday, January 22nd, GameStop call volume is now at an all-time high, and $100 billion in GameStop shares have been exchanged in the past 7 days, mainly from Robinhood users with $500 in their account. When GameStop closes at $65 for the weekend, even more of the big boy investment funds recognize the opportunity and decide to buy into long GME positions alongside the retail degenerates. Monday, January 25th, Melvin Capital, one of the main short sellers of GameStop, is on the brink of destruction. So they decide to get a $3 billion bailout from another hedge fund. GameStop closes the day at $76.79. On January 26th, who else but the king of calls himself, Elon Musk, tweeted GameStonk as an acknowledgement of the mental retardation he was witnessing on Wallstreetbets. Momentum from retail traders pushes more institutional investors to buy into the GameStop hype, rocketing the share price to $147.98. January 27th. Remember DeepFuckingValue's initial $50,000 investment? It's now long cleared the stratosphere as GameStop rallies to $347 per share. That $50,000 is now worth almost $48 million. GameStop is infinite. GameStop is eternal. Expert stock market analysts such as AOC and Ted Cruz echo the rally cry. January 28th. Due to raised collateral requirements from Apex Clearinghouse, Robinhood, Webull, and a lot of other C-tier brokerages disabled buying of shares of GameStonk as well as some other meme stocks. This is actually really bad, and it's another reason why you probably shouldn't use Robinhood. Then again, they make your gambling experience really colorful and fun, so I'd say it's worth it. I'll link a video in the description that goes into depth as to what actually happened. Put simply, when you buy shares, your money is going through Robinhood to a third-party clearing firm that actually takes 2 business days to settle that transaction. Usually this clearing company will require Robinhood to pose 1 to 3% collateral on those transactions, but because of the high volume, the clearing firm said Robinhood now needs to pose 100% collateral on every transaction. Once again, this is bad, and it's another thing to add to the laundry list of reasons you shouldn't use Robinhood. If you have the ability to not use Robinhood, then I definitely recommend it. Basically every brokerage has a mobile app so you can gamble on the go, and Robinhood will kind of fuck you over in a lot of different situations. Just ask this guy. At market close on the 28th, GameStop had dropped 44% to $193.60 per share. On January 29th, Robinhood raised $1 billion in cash from investors to try to cover their collateral requirements in an attempt to reopen buying again. GameStonk had now become a movement. The young degenerates realized something very important that day. Occupying Wall Street physically does absolutely nothing. Instead, we need to occupy their bank accounts with our money by buying $200 GameStop shares. Before all the mainstream attention and 8 million new members, there was a saying in Wallstreetbets that always seemed to remain true. Always inverse Wallstreetbets. This goes for degenerates young and old. As soon as you press that join button, all the positions you take will immediately move in the opposite direction. If Wallstreetbets says buy, you sell. If Wallstreetbets thinks a stock will go up, you short it. This was always one of the most fundamental ideas in the community. An important idea which made you recognize that if you were in the community, you were going to lose money. And if there was ever a sign you shouldn't buy something.
Selling stocks every day to profit off of daily market moves. The shunting commission-free apps like Robinhood trading, especially practice of buying stocks.
I think this will largely go down in history as the case study proving that rule. Now it's February 18th and GameStop has fallen to around $40 per share. The rally of degeneracy has largely subsided, mainly because if you're a Robinhood user like me, you don't have any money left.